I shouldn't have volunteered to drive. It was a late Sunday afternoon, clear sky, perfect for the 2-hour road trip back to the city after our weekend retreat at the lakeside cabin. My boss, Charlotte, was up ahead in her SUV, and I was following behind in mine. We'd spent the weekend brainstorming marketing ideas in the pine-scented retreat, and she'd insisted I lead the drive home so she could rest her eyes after a sleepless brainstorming night. Everything was going smoothly until mile 47 when the highway narrowed into a winding forest road, and I heard the sickening thud against my wheel. I braked, drifted to the shoulder, and realized I'd picked up a massive nail. My tire was flat. I tapped on my phone, no signal. My heart sped up. I called Charlotte on my car's Bluetooth. "Hey, I've got a flat," I said, voice trembling. "Are you okay?" she asked, voice soft with concern. "Yeah, but there's no service. I'm on a back road with no cell." "I'll turn around," she said immediately. While I popped open the trunk and retrieved the spare, the sun dipped toward the pines. The woods seemed to hush around me. 20 minutes later, headlights appeared. Charlotte eased alongside, rolled down her window. "You'll need the jack and lug wrench," she said, tossing them. "I also have my roadside kit." I braced myself against the cold metal. "Thank you." She stepped out, stood in her blazer and boots, somehow still elegant under the fading light. We worked in silence, tightening lug nuts, lifting the car, until the spare was snug. My fingers stung from the cold, but Charlotte's calm presence kept me steady. "There," she said, wiping her hands. "Good as new." I leaned against the car, exhaling. "I can't believe I didn't notice the nail." She handed me a steaming travel mug. "Coffee, hot." I brought it to my lips, bitter warmth against my chill. Perfect. We drove in convoy now, headlights slicing through the forest dusk. The road wound toward a tiny village Charlotte had spotted on her GPS before we lost service. "We'll find a diner up ahead," she promised. 20 minutes later, we arrived at a single street town with shuttered shops and a lone neon sign reading "Open." The Pine Cone Diner glowed amber in the night. Inside, the booths were empty except for a wiry cook behind the counter. "We'll take two," Charlotte said, nodding toward the coffee pot. We slid into a vinyl booth. I peeled off my gloves. She draped her blazer over my shoulders. He poured rich black coffee into chipped mugs. "I can't thank you enough," I said, stirring sugar. The diner's bell tinkled each time the door opened, though no one else came. She met my eyes. "You're brave. Most people would freak out alone on a back road." My shoulders dropped. I panicked, honestly. She reached across the table, brushing my hand. "That's why I love working with you. You face challenges." In the diner's yellow glow, her eyes looked softer, almost vulnerable. I realized I'd never appreciated how warm her smile could feel. We talked like old friends, about childhood homes, first jobs, the wild ambition that had brought us here. The cook cleared his throat when he brought our grilled cheese sandwiches, stacked golden and steaming. Charlotte cut hers in perfect triangles. I tackled mine with hungry relief. Outside, the wind rattled the neon letters on the diner's facade. Every now and then, I'd spy her profile in the window's reflection, strong jaw, thoughtful brow, a softness I'd never noticed under conference room lights. When we finished, the village clock rang 11. Charlotte checked her watch. "We should find lodging." I saw a sign for the Pinewood Inn next door. The emptiness of the street made me hesitate. "Do you think they'll have rooms?" She slid from the booth, gathering her satchel. "Only one way to find out." We walked side by side to the inn's front door. Its once cheerful green paint faded, the bell echoing hollowly as we entered. The lobby's carpet was threadbare, and the only light came from a single lamp behind the front desk. A tired-looking clerk peered at us. "We got one room left. No TV, no Wi-Fi, but it's heat and a bed." Charlotte exchanged a look with me. "We'll take it." Up the narrow staircase, she carried both our bags. The hallway smells of old carpet and lavender sachets. We reached room 7 at the hall's end. The door opened to reveal 2 twin beds, a small nightstand, and a heater clanking softly. "Geez," I said, stepping inside. "Cozy," she laughed, a soft musical sound that warmed the drafty space. "It's better than the cold." We set our bags down. I glanced at the beds. "I'll take that one." I pointed to the nearer bed. "You can have the other." She hesitated. "Honestly, I'd feel better sharing." My heart stuttered. "If you're comfortable." She slid off her blazer and tucked it over one mattress. "Good. Then I will." We sank onto the beds, backs against the headboards, feet barely touching the floor. The heater chimed again, a steady rhythm. I yawned. What a night. She glanced at the small window, frost starting at the edges. "We'll laugh about this someday." I looked across at her, at the way her hair framed her face, the curious light in her eyes. "Maybe tonight's the someday," I whispered. She shifted closer so that our shoulders touched beneath her blazer. "Maybe." Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the windows as if testing the walls. Inside, her warmth was a quiet promise. We talked in whispers, sharing fears and hopes, two colleagues woven together by circumstance, discovering the fragile curve between professional respect and something far deeper. When my eyelids drooped, she draped an extra blanket over both of us, tucking me in as though I were a child. I drifted off, thinking of her gentle touch, her hand on my shoulder, her head turned toward me. A soft invitation I didn't fully grasp until sleep claimed me. Morning came late in that tiny room, sunlight pale through frosted glass. I woke to find Charlotte already awake, her sketchbook in her lap. She turned and smiled. "Ready for a real breakfast?" she asked. I nodded, sliding out of bed. "And a hot shower." She tapped the small tray on the nightstand where the heat switch glowed green. "There's hot water. And if we're lucky, cell service is back." We dressed in companionable silence and descended the creaky stairs. The sun burned away the frost, revealing a world washed clean. The diner's neon flickered to life again. We slid into our booth, back into reality, but never quite the same. As Charlotte sipped her coffee, she reached across the table and took my hand. "Thank you," she said simply. My heart swelled. "Thank you for staying." We rode back to the city in her SUV, radio playing old songs. When we pulled into the parking garage, the morning bustle awaited, emails, deadlines, meetings. But in my pocket was the memory of her warmth, the careful brush of her hand, the way two strangers became more under a moonlit storm. And I knew I'd never look at her, and at my own quiet courage, the same way again.